Hi, I'm Charmaine Bryan, Image Consulting. Hi, I wanted to come on this evening and speak about how I managed to land a job during the pandemic. And this is something I've been really wanting to speak about because it's something that happened recently and really thinking about others who are out of work at the moment, looking for work, or indeed in a job that they don't particularly like, but feel like that they need to just stay where they are because times are so uncertain at the moment. But I just wanted to really talk through what I did to find a job during such an uncertain time and to just give you some tips and advice about what you can do, speaking from my experience. So 2020 was going to be the year I had decided I would be out there and looking for a full-time job. So in recent years, I'd been running my business, Charmaine Bryan Image Consulting, as well as working part-time. And this year I decided I'm going to go back and work full-time again. But of course, lo and behold, what we didn't know was coming in March of 2020 this year that we would go into a lockdown due to a pandemic, and therefore so many businesses closed at the time. And I remember thinking, is there even any point in trying to look for a job at this point because there will not be any jobs? But I persevered and I did manage to find something that I just started just a few weeks ago. So there are possibilities out there. And not only did I find a job, it's also something that I enjoy and didn't really expect that I'd be working in this organization. So you just never know how things can turn out. So I'm going to talk through three ways how I managed to land this job. And number one for me was I actually really started reflecting about what I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to go back and find a full-time job. In recent times, I had been working in the non-profit world, well, for a number of years, and more recently in the arts. And at that point, I wasn't sure if that was what I wanted to continue doing. I was exploring other areas, and I actually did start working with a career coach who helped me identify an area that I wanted to go into, thinking about my strengths, my past successes, and really redrafted my resume so that I would really be focusing on my achievements and my successes versus just writing everything on there, which and not really tailoring to a specific sector or industry that I haven't really done before. So I really did give a lot of thought about what I actually wanted to do. And I started thinking about, well, what had I been doing? Because I've done so many things over the years, and especially and also with running a business as well. For me, it felt like, okay, I've got all this different area of expertise. What could I really narrow down? And an area that I decided that I wanted to go into was marketing, because to me it made sense as it was an area that I had been pretty much working on and within my business. No, if no one knows about me, then I have no business. So I certainly learned a lot about marketing and online marketing and digital marketing within the last few years. So I figured that's an area that I could explore as I did have some experience. So my next step really was to network. And I know it sounds like, well, how can you get out and network? There's no network events going on during a pandemic. How can you get out there and meet people? And, this is the great thing about technology, that I'm speaking to you now on Facebook Live, that you can speak to people without going out there and really networking in a virtual world. And that's what I really started to embrace. I started connecting with people on LinkedIn, in doing jobs that I was interested in doing and asking them for information interviews for 15 to 20 minutes. And I really managed to book several of those interviews to really ask those questions and find out what it was about their industry, their challenges, the type of things, skill sets that you would need to be successful in the industry. And I really did probe and ask some questions, and it really was a great way to build my network at the time. And I found it really useful because it made me think about, is this something that I really want to do? Because I think a lot of the times when you are job hunting, it's you see a job, you apply for it and not really think about, well, is this what I really want to do? And I think doing those information interviews really, really gave me a good idea of, okay, this is something that I want to go into and really drill down into this particular area. But what was actually interesting was, so the job that I landed, I actually, it was a little bit, well, so I'd applied for this job that was more in focus with what I'd been doing previously, which was kind of fundraising and sponsorship. But then what happened was they invited me back for a second interview, and they offered me a marketing slash project management role instead. And what that what that really showed is, going into number three, in terms of what I did to land this job, was I realized, because I'd been speaking to people in information interviews about my skill set, my experience, what I'd been doing, as well as speaking in this interview, of course, about what I'd been doing and also what I had been writing in my resume and on my LinkedIn profile. I kept on brand that, this was an area I wanted to go into marketing. And while the job I had applied for was not a marketing position, they ended up offering me a position that was marketing. So that was really interesting, that once you do start talking about what you want to do with different people, and I guess it was really reflected. It came up in my interview, in the first interview, although that wasn't the position that I had applied for initially. So I felt that, the networking and really getting clear on what I wanted to do really did help me in terms of landing this position, that I feel like, had I not really been clear on what I wanted to do and spoken to people in the industry, then it probably wouldn't have come out as clear in the interview, maybe. So that's what I would say. I mean, my three key areas I would say to you when you are looking job hunting at the moment, whether you're out of work or whether you're just looking to make a move within your organization or elsewhere, is to really just think about, well, what do I really want to do? Consider working with someone to help you with your resume and bring out your key achievements and successes. Number two, network like crazy. And this is something networking is something I will be talking about more in future videos. I told you about information interviews, but I certainly will be talking about other ways to network in this virtual time. As I said, LinkedIn was definitely a key area that I use to network. But there's so many other avenues that you can use online that I will talk about in future videos. And the last, really being on brand, about being clear about what you want to do. And I did find, when I was thinking about approaching people, being specific about an area that I really wanted to go into. And so that I found that once I really started narrowing that down, it was much easier for people to say yes, because it was worth their while to speak to me. But in the meantime, thank you for listening today. And I would, if you want to hear more about personal branding, I do have a special report that I wrote that you can download. I will put the link in the comments, and it's called 3 Essential Strategies to Build Your Personal Brand to Advance in Your Career. So do go and download that. I do write a lot of loads of tips and strategies on building your personal brand. I like to coin it how to look at, speak the parts, so that you can move up into various leadership roles with influence and authority